WLFE-DB Radio has LGBTQ shows like Across the Pond, Rainbow Soul, Everything Yet Nothing, and Inside the Drag Closet. Check out the schedule on WLFE-DB.com. You can even watch them on TV at WLFE-DB.com under LGBTQ Friends, right off our website. Again, it's WLFE-DB.com for your LGBTQ shows and more.
WLFE-DB.com, where talk radio is a whole lot better. Our shows are your shows, and that there makes for a great talk radio.
Welcome to Rainbow Soul, part of the WLFE-DB network, an explorative discussion about spirituality beyond mainstream religions. Hollis Taylor, author, psychic, astrologer, and alchemical mage, brings their non-binary perspective together with fellow drag king and trans man LeKross Ortiz, a Jewish Taino with spiritual background of exploration that has led him to an atheist perspective. Join these guys as they explore deep and difficult topics, all related to spirituality, offering a queer perspective and exploration of interesting topics and engaging guests to help explore conversations for the Rainbow Soul.
Hey there, welcome everybody. So great to see you. Welcome Sandy and Eric. Hey Eric, how you doing? And Sandy, welcome. I'm glad you're here. And I'm Hollis, of course, and LeKross is, well, he had an accident and so he can't be here today. He is okay. I will assure everybody that he is okay and hopefully even watching the show. And but he's not capable of participating in the show today, which is a sad thing because guess who chose this topic? LeKross. So that's an interesting thing, but you know, we all accept what happens to us in any moment. And so I thought, well, Brighthawk we had already invited to the show because, well, she's perfect fit for it. First of all, I'm Hollis Taylor, and I am a non-binary spiritual person, and I love to talk about spiritual topics of all kinds. And I'm also a representative for the non-binary community, and I wrote a book called Divine Androgyny, A Sacred Path for Gender Variant People. It's all about harvesting your authenticity and exploring spirituality and dealing with trauma and, well, being a non-binary person living in a binary world. And that's what it's all about. And today we have
Brighthawk. Hi, I'm Brighthawk. I am also an author of The Dancing Hippo, which you'll hear more about later. And I am delighted to be back on Rainbow Soul, a wonderful program that I'm so proud of my partner for producing. And I love what we do every week and can't wait to see what the next topic's going to be. So I was thrilled to say yes to animal totems because, well, hello. We'll get into the topic more in a minute. And spiritually speaking, I would identify myself as a earth-based pagan, yeah, for sure. And I'm really a humanitarian and an earthling. You know, I like to go for the biggest rainbow view possible. And you know, as many pagans, many of my peers, I'm a recovering Catholic. You know, grew up in a really big family that left its mark. You know, what can I say? I'm 7 of 9, you know, and yes, that pun is intended. Exactly. So it's delightful to be here. I'm excited to share about the topic of animal totems. I'm thrilled to to support Hollis and LeKross. I send you such best wishes for a speedy recovery. And thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited actually about this. And look, we have lots of people tuning in. Chris from Wisteria.
Oh, wow.
Hey,
Great
Chris,
to
we're so
see
glad you're here. We
you.
haven't.
Mwah.
Wisteria is an event location that often hosts pagan events. Just in case you didn't know. And thank you, everyone. And here
Hey,
we are.
Sandy.
Yeah, here we are. LeKross he's in bed watching. Okay.
Aw.
So at least we know he's okay. And, and today, talking about animal totems, the other person that came to mind that I was like, I wonder if. And today we were playing sort of trying to play our Dungeons and Dragons game. We were having technical difficulties. And I was like, Cindy. So if you happen to know Psychic Cindy, I invited her on the show to talk about animal totems. So let's bring Psychic Cindy out.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. I'm so glad you're here to talk about this amazing, awesome topic.
I know. I do. I love it.
It's such a deep, I was like, gosh, there's so many places you can go with animal totems, right?
Absolutely.
And I was really excited to talk about it, especially with LeKross being an Indigenous person, and to explore the topic in all the different ways it comes. And so I think that first, like, we have to define what it is, right? We have to first say, what is animal totems? What do we mean by that?
Can I
Go
tell
for it, Cindy.
LeKross, please get well soon, my friend. I hope you feel better, LeKross.
Yeah.
Listen, I would have liked to come on here, but not this way.
Right, exactly. So,
Yeah.
how do we define animal totems? What is it?
So for me, an animal totem is so this is how I feel, and this may not be how everybody resonates with it, but how I've always resonated with animal totems is certain times in my life I have felt certain animal spirits with me, and I just resonated with their energy. I just resonated with where I was in my life at that moment. But then overall, I feel like I've always had an animal totem with me, like the symbolic one that's always there. Does that make sense? So I feel like we can have these animal spirits with us. Maybe there's an overall one for our whole lifetime, but then along the path, our journeys, I feel like where we have certain things in our life come up, and they could be for a certain amount of time. It's almost like, that saying, there's a reason, a season, or a lifetime. I kind of feel the same way about animal totems and animal spirit friends. And when I do readings, if I have an insect or a reptile or a bird or an animal come through my reading, I say, oh, there's a reason we have this information coming through, and I don't have the information in front of me, so you may have to look this up, or let me get it for you later, right? I think that animals and insects and everything have a meaning for us in our lives. So I feel like overall that each animal has a spirit that they bring through. I feel that there are certain vibrations that they utilize and can help us understand where we are in our life right at that moment. And I just feel like they have a lot to offer us when we have times of challenge, right? And lessons being learned. And can you be grateful for those animal spirits in your life at that moment?
Right? Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for me, animal totems come up in a lot of different ways. Like I've seen it defined before, that like you can have an animal totem that is the animal that sort of represents your essence or who you are.
Mhm.
And it could change over time. And some of us might have more than one. And then there are animals that cross your path. Come on, we've all been driving down the road or walking through the woods or sitting in a park. and a rabbit just comes up to you like a wild rabbit, or
Be careful of
or
that one now.
or whatever, I have all kinds of stories about animals that I've encountered at different times of my life. And I'm always like, I wonder what that means in this moment. Is the divine giving me a message?
Yeah.
And then I also think you can also intentionally, like kind of what you were saying, Cindy, but in more of a magical way, you can say, I want to manifest more wisdom or more masculinity. So I'm going to identify with the stag, right?
Yeah.
And that's really great energy that I myself, while I was trying to explore masculinity, I really got in touch with the stag, and then all of a sudden, I was seeing them everywhere.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so I think there's a lot of different ways. How about you, Bright Hawk?
Oh, I love this topic because it's far reaching, and I loved your description of totem animals, Cindy.
Oh, thank you.
I'm going to tell a quick story because I'm a quick storyteller.
I love it. I love your stories, Bright Hawk.
So I just want to tell a story about LeKross because I feel like LeKross and I met each other almost in our instinctual animal selves, if you will. Like we met each other, but we both saw each other, and I recognized LeKross's crow energy, and LeKross recognized my hawk energy, and it was like, yeah, we are birds of a feather. And so I think that that's true of I don't know, maybe I'm normalizing because it's my experience, but I think a whole lot of people are very familiar with having an animal that is really close to them. A lot of folks, obviously, man's best friend, the dog, right? People's best friend, let's put it that way. And over and over and over, science is reinforcing why we have these associations, why we have these connections, why it's so important, why it's mutually beneficial. And so I am willing to bet that anyone listening has had a magical experience, just like you said. They come through the cards, they come to you in a park, they whatever, the animal and you have a moment, an eye to eye. I had an eye to eye moment with a dolphin and felt like seen through and through, and of course pinged by their sonar. And I felt changed after that. So there's a myriad of ways that we connect. And of course, the opportunity is connection. How can what is there to learn? How can I connect? How can I help? That mutual receptivity is absolutely key, I think, to it. And for me, my first tarot deck, I know you did a show on tarot a few weeks ago. One of my very first decks was the medicine cards from Bear and Company, and learning all the different medicines from the animal spirits. It's a wonderful deck. I love that deck. And it was so good for me. It was there you go. Right there. Thank you very much.
I was about to say, actually, you produced the deck.
Ask and you shall receive, my friend.
And a great reference source if you have a dream and you're like, whoa, there was a bear in my dream, or a fill in the blank.
Yeah.
What did that mean? And you'll inevitably sit with that deck or sit with the information and go, oh, wow, what a gift. What a gift. Like you had bear medicine come up at a time it was a huge gift. So
bear medicine is huge. Bear medicine is huge and unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. And it seems like animals come up in people's lives, like you were saying, Bright Hawk, in a lot of different ways. Look, we have Sandy here.
Right.
I think mine might be a rabbit, because one is always in my backyard every time I look out the window.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Hi, Sandy. Hi, Eric.
LeKross said, I've learned there's a birth totem, which can coincide almost like an astrological chart.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, then those guys who come in during certain times of life.
Chinese astrology actually uses animals for their chart. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I'm a wooden rabbit. That's what it is. Yeah, it usually has an element.
Now I think I'm a pig. I don't remember for certain.
I think last year was the year of the pig.
Could be.
I'm a wood dragon. Yeah, you're a wood dragon. And you're a rabbit?
I'm a wood rabbit.
Wood rabbit.
Yeah. In Chinese, I'm a rat. Okay, Sandy.
I don't remember what mine is now. I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah, and I think Chinese astrology is really cool in that you get an element, and if you if you get you are a pig. Yeah.
Yes, I am a pig. It says and the type is metal gold.
Ooh.
Oh, a metal pig. Okay, great.
That means I am worth all the gold. That's right.
Well, look at this great question. Wow, great question, Tamala. Tamala said, "How do totems differ from guides? Like the guides we meet when we do shamanic journey work?" Good question.
Oh, that's a good question.
First of all, I think that they show up kind of randomly because, like for me, I was camping, and that's when bear medicine first showed up for me.
Oh, wow.
I was sleeping in a tent in the middle of the night, and I woke up because, well, the earth was rumbling, and I was like, "What's going on?" And I kind of sensed for a minute, and I heard a bear outside my tent. Yes, outside my tent, my little pop-up tent, sniffing. And this bear was big enough that when he stepped, he shook the earth.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, there's a huge bear outside. A bright hawk was sleeping next to me, but of course I don't want to make any noise. And I'm like, and I'm just listening. And it was a little bit of that listening, just that moment of just being still, being a little afraid, but also trusting that the bear wouldn't come inside the tent, would respect the fabric wall between us. And of course he smelled where we had our dinner and then moved on up the hill where I cleaned my dishes. And thank goodness I didn't have anything in the tent. And then afterwards I woke Bright Hawk up and I was like, "Hey, did you hear that?" And of course she was like, "What?" But that's when bear energy first entered my life. And it was a big moment in my life because I had finally started traveling off the East Coast. So I think one of the differences between a guide, like my spirit guides, which we were talking a lot about last week, in that some of them are people that have lived and now died. So some of them are my ancestors. Some guides are Pleiadian or star beings, or could be described as star beings.
Yeah.
And then some of them, they're not necessarily guides in that they kind of step into your life, and it's very physical. It's in a physical realm and almost with your connection with nature. And then you realize what's and in my experience, it was that my life was physically changing. It was changing the whole dynamics, the way I lived my life and the way I presented in my life, was everything was changing. And that's what the bear energy was. So that was one of the first things that how do you think it changes?
Well, I would share an experience where they're one and the same. I was on a deep spiritual journey doing a transformational healing program, and I was in a deep meditation. Wow. And in the meditation, I found myself at the top of, we'll call it Spirit Mountain. And at the top of the mountain, there was a cave, and I was sitting on the ledge. And I was really looking for direction and guidance in my life. And suddenly, next to me is another bird. And the form of the bird was the form of the ibis. Took me years, I'm going to say about 2 decades, to recognize that this bird is the spirit body of Thoth, of Hermes, and had been with me many, many times. We had been in our bird bodies many times together. And this time it was really specific. It was like initiation. It was, okay, you're ready. And we were together and on this ledge and on the cave. And then we took off in our bird bodies, and it felt really amazing. And it was like, wow. And then I looked, and we were eyeball to eyeball, and then we switched. And I was in the ibis body, and they were in the hawk body. And suddenly the perspective of everything changed. It was, kaleidoscopic vision, right? You're just like blown away, right? And the voice in my head saying, do you get it now? Perspective. It's everything. Do you get it? And then we looked at each other, boom, boom, and we're back at the cave on the ledge. And so in that instance, I would say, the guide was, animal, but the form, very much the form of Tahuti, of thought. And that took many, many, many years to interpret, understand, totally get it, and recognize what that moment was all about. And that's the beauty of it, right? There's just so much, So
Thoth is an Egyptian deity, just in case you didn't know.
Right.
Go for it, Cindy.
So I'm curious though, Bright Hawk. Do you find that you finally had that realization even after 2 decades? Do you finally realize why at that point you were able to understand that it was Thoth? As the
yes.
You understand that it was all culmination of your learning and what you needed to know before they could reveal themselves?
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally get that. I can remember having a dream. And I say dream in quotes because it was for me to know and understand that I could shapeshift. And I started out in this desert canyon, and I know where it is. I know it's in Arizona someplace. I've never been there. I just knew it was Arizona. And I can remember, like, I started off on this ledge walking, and I literally just ran, and I spread my arms, and I literally was watching and looking over everything in my eagle form. And I thought that was so cool. I'm like, whoa, that's crazy. However, I really resonate with hawk energy. I have so much hawk energy, but also crow magic and crow energy. So I really do feel like I'm a bird of a feather, right? And I feel like there's been so many instances of birds coming into my life, whether it's eagle energy that's been there for a very long time, whether it's hawk energy, which hawk energy has a number that goes with it. A lot of times it comes with the number 14. And also crow magic, because let's see, I have crows for a lot of different reasons. Hecate and Odin, and we have a lot of different reasons for crow magic. But literally, I have an amazing story. So we have this amazing, I don't know if you have been to Rochester. I know, Hollis, that you've mentioned that you guys have been here. But what I don't know, if you were able to visit one of our amazing cemeteries here, which is Mount Hope Cemetery. We have some amazing people buried here, and Susan B. Anthony is one of them. Among, like Frederick Douglass as well. So it was so strange. So we've had this influx several years now of crow, and there were people in Rochester trying to kill them. And it really pissed me off, because we had so many murders of crows, and they just were people feeling as though they were annoyances or whatever. Well, I happened to go with my boys to Rochester, and we went to the cemetery, Mount Hope Cemetery. And I always love watching the crows because they're just listening to them. It just puts me in this place and space of magic all of the time. And all of a sudden there were the crows, and they started circling, and they were all together, and they started circling off to my right a little bit. And I had my boys with me, and I said, they want us to follow them. My boys are like, okay. So we start walking, and we just kept watching where the crow were going. So I said, okay, we're going to keep following them, guys. And it takes us on the other part of the cemetery where I hadn't been before. to a part that I hadn't seen. And where it stopped, where the crows stopped, I looked down, and I kid you not when I tell you this, Susan B. Anthony's, this marker says Susan B. Anthony's is right there. So we just all went over there. And I had one of my friend's daughters with us as well. So we all went and saw it. So it wasn't an experience that just I had. I had people to witness this experience with me. So it was pretty amazing. But they literally led us to Susan B. Anthony's grave. And I had been there several times going, I need to find Susan B. Anthony's grave. So it was just really funny and synchronistic that it was led there. So the question was, let me go back for a second, which was, how do they differ than guides? I don't always think they do differ. I think that sometimes they come into our lives as a quick guide to tell us what we need to know and understand at that moment. Sometimes it's a spirit form that we really need to know and understand and really work with, right? And so I don't necessarily believe that they differ from our spirit guides. I think sometimes they can very well be our spirit guides, even in that form. So
I thought Tamala said, so totems aren't just a representation of a tribe. I was not even, I know LeKross is in the crowd, so maybe he could address this, but I didn't even know that they necessarily represented tribes. I thought all indigenous people just kind of seen it the way we seen it, which is that animal, like the coyote animal, or
I think that's in reference to totem poles, perhaps.
Oh,
well, I don't know, because here we were always, so I've seen totem poles, and
Sure.
and they have like different animals that
Yeah.
are on the totem pole. So I don't necessarily know that it's just a tribe thing. But though some tribes may, excuse my phone, some tribes may take on that, that animal form, or take on as their own personal totem for the tribe itself.
right.
Well, and the Zunis are known for that, right? The Zuni carvings of the little tiny totems of all different kind of animal spirits, and there's a rich history there that I'm not going to pretend to try to represent or speak for, but that's what I mean. I think it's ubiquitous that we, as Earthlings, I'm going to use that word, are all having an experience together,
Right.
and that throughout our histories, the history of Earthlings, there's been a relationship between animals and humans. And I loved when we point to it and recognize that we didn't get to the solution or the healing or the whatever all by ourselves. There were all these helpers,
Right.
and the helpers
Yes.
can be, come in all forms, right?
Absolutely.
And I bet everybody has a story about that. And crows are such a great one. Crows are just, anytime you want something to do, watch them.
Yes.
And I'm a crow too. Crow Lee is my grandmother's family name.
That's
And I didn't
amazing.
realize what a crow I was. And I met another person whose last name was Crowley. And I grew up in California, and Californians, they tend to talk like this and through their nose. And so I always grew up hearing it as Crowley. I thought it was with an A, like Crowley, CRA. And then later I'm on the East Coast in Cambridge, and I'm talking to my friend who makes it very clear that he is crow magic, crow energy. I'm like, right on. I love this Crowley. And I was talking to my dad, and I was like, and he said, it's the same name. And I was like, oh, we're Crowley? Why are you guys always saying Crowley? So I really embraced the Crowley energy when I went to Ireland. And according to my friend Matthew, the reason the Crowley name was that it was where the leeward side of the hills where the crows would gather.
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't know if it's true. It doesn't matter.
No, but
That's
Lord,
the beauty of stories, right? They make sense. You go, yeah, that makes sense. The leeward side of the hill where the crows would gather. Okay.
That's right.
Speaking of crows, LeKross said the crow has been with me since I was a child. Turned out it's my birth totem. When I got older, they would follow me everywhere. I decided learning everything about the crow, from spirit to science. It's funny, LeKross, now every time I see a crow, I think of you.
That's true.
So,
That's so funny. Yeah, I always, whenever I see a crow and whatever I'm thinking, I'm like, oh, I need to make note of this. Number one, I need to make note of it. Number two, I always just have this weird instinct to follow them. I think I can remember doing that when I was younger too. Just
wow.
it's an instinctual thing. Like I just or they happen to be on my path as I'm going. So it's like a mental note for myself, like you're on the right path, keep going. It's always like a positive symbol. Like I've never had anything, although I just had some Loki energy coming in, and so crow and trickster energy coming through. So that was pretty interesting as well.
I find when that energy comes in, though, like coyote energy.
I love that.
We just spent a few days camping in
Mm.
North Park, or also known as Never Summer area. It's north of Rocky Mountain National Park, and we're camping up there. And I swore most mornings, most of the day, and definitely when the sun set, we could hear coyotes.
Yeah.
Howling and howling and barking. You know, it sounds like a pack of dogs.
It does, yes.
And of course, I have my dog with me, and I really identify with the dog energy. I connect with dogs. I speak their language, and we connect in almost every way. So when I hear coyotes, even years ago when we were traveling, and the first time I heard coyotes in Idaho, we were actually sleeping in this weird canyon it's called the Birds of Prey, and it's south of Boise, Idaho. It's called the
Snake River winds through
and it's right on the Snake River, and we're laying there, and I'm hearing these coyotes, and I'm like, that's coyotes. And then I kept hearing one coyote across the river speaking to another group of coyotes, a pack, almost saying, I'm over here, where are you? And then the pack would say, I'm over here. And it's so interesting that I understood the language. Like I got what they were saying. And even these last few days while I was listening to the coyotes, I knew what they were saying. I kind of had the vibration of what they were saying, which was they were saying, hey, you know, you have to respect us. And they were having a
Tier 4?
A territorial pack orientation type of thing. And they were actually hunting together and learning who's where in the pack. And that's really important to them.
Yeah.
So I really identify with coyotes. And one of the things that I've noticed when coyotes and that kind of energy steps into our life, that we just need to pay attention. It's just spirit or the coyote energy or whatever, you know, Loki energy asking us, please pay attention. Pay attention to us.
Yes.
Pay attention to what's going on in the world and listen. And I feel like that's all it is. It's kind of like a antenna up. And when things go a little crazy or things get messed up, you just have to kind of ride the wave like like you're surfing. And I think that's pretty much what coyote energy learns to do. I've had an indigenous leader once tell me that I had a lot of coyote energy, and I was like, oh, I do? And at the time, I didn't really understand what he meant, but I think what he meant was that I probably stir the pot when I go places because I'm non-binary, I'm a little weird, and I question everything. And then on top of that, for me, when things go awry, when things go and things get all screwed up, I'm like, okay, well, it'll be okay. And I don't stress about it. I'm just like, okay, this is where we are.
It's out of your hands. It's out of your control. Why stress?
Right. There's nothing I can do about it.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure that's what coyote energy is all about. It's just kind of running with the pack and trusting that everything will work out, especially if you got your pack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Hollis is pretty extraordinary in the animals coming to them department. Hummingbirds landing on their head
Twice.
during meditation.
Yeah,
Twice.
well, let's get to that question, because Sandy asked a little bit ago, how do you connect
Yes.
with your guides? I've been told to meditate, but what do you do when you meditate? Well, Sandy, let me just say, first of all, people will tell you to sit still and
Yes.
to clear your mind. And that's kind of true. And a lot of monks will describe that your brain actually wanders in that moment. So you'll be meditating, breathe in, breathe out. You'll be doing it right the way you think you should be doing it. And the next thing you know, you'll be thinking about what you have to get at the grocery store, what you might have for dinner, or what you want to wear
The hole in
tonight.
your sock.
Oh, yeah.
The dishes need to be done.
Yeah, and
I need
apparently,
sex.
right?
These are the crazy things your brain will think about.
Your
You
brain will come
can't
up-
stop them.
No,
You know, I do have a little thing that I use, if you don't mind.
go for it.
So one of the things when I teach meditation to people would be is sometimes you can't stop your brain. Like I have ADD, so my brain would just be like, woo, woo, woo. Like those 3 different things I just said, those would be like things my brain would think about. I just heard a car outside. I wonder what it looks like, right? It would just be like, so I would literally give myself a certain amount of time to think all of those thoughts. And so I would mentally bring in a chalkboard. Not like the newfangled chalkboards that you see on the wall in school. No, the old school wooden chalkboards that you have to move and they flip. So one of the things is write all the things down or just watch these things appear as your brain thinks up all of these things. And then say, okay, well, have an egg timer go off for like a minute, because a minute will seem like a long time while you're meditating. And just stop your brain from thinking and either erase it or just flip that chalkboard. So then know that you can do this. However, that's a great thing for people who can sit still. Not all people meditate that way. I happen to do really well meditating, standing up, wide awake, with the water in the shower running. It's one of the ways that I meditate. It's just a way to allow your mind to be free of all of thinking, right? That's what we're trying to do, is get out of our brains. And so it's really whatever can make you just forget thinking, right? So if that's being able to sit and in a lotus position, right? Or whether you're standing in the shower and just allowing yourself. So one of the things that I do is I just see all the psychic schmutz go down the drain. And then that's kind of like spirit allowing me to go, okay, Cindy's ready. We can send her a bunch of dead people in the shower, or we can, just tell her things she needs to know. I mean, because everybody needs dead people in the shower, right?
Right.
Or it's even taking a drive. How many of us just go, oh, how the hell did I get here? It's whatever, I wouldn't suggest driving, however, but it's just a place of allowing. One of the things that you can do though, Sandy, is to focus your mind specifically on something you would like to know, which is your guides. So when you're doing this and you're about to embark on your meditation, say, hey, I want to know my guides. I want to learn about my guides. Some people feel them. Some people sense them. Some people see them. Some people just know instantaneously. So it's not like a one and done. Everybody gets it the same way. So you may know your guides just individually. I call my guides they, and I say they for spirit, because I don't have just one. I have many, and I don't always know who it is that's coming through, whether it's the archangels, whether I can usually tell when it's the archangels, but when they're all talking at the same time, I don't always know who's giving me the information, if that makes sense. I don't know if it's my individual guides. I don't know if it's the cloaked ones. I don't know if it's the ascended masters. Sometimes I don't know. So I just allow the information to come through and just accept it as truth.
I would add that there's a couple of different paths you can take on this. Everything, yay, what Cindy said is all awesome. And I would add, um, my first experience in this arena was a guided meditation.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Yep.
very easy to stay in it because there was a gentle guidance taking you there.
Yeah.
And there are so many
So
now
amazing.
available.
Yeah.
And the other is I mentioned how I came to the understanding of that thought is because of my teacher, Nikki Scully, who wrote many, many books. And one of the books she wrote is called Animal Meditations. She wrote a whole book on this.
Ooh, that's
And it was
amazing.
a fantastic resource book. Again, like if you have a dream or they come up in cards or something,
Yes.
like, what does this mean? A hummingbird landed on my head? This is a great reference book. And there's I don't remember the person that we look at on YouTube. She's really pretty amazing about giving you interpretations and lots of different range that you can go, that resonates for me. And that's always the point, right? In our spiritual journey is what's resonating. Ooh, that feels really good. Go that way. I was fortunate to be in Hawaii 5 years ago, maybe. And it came up that there would be an opportunity to go out on a boat and go for a snorkel. And so I was like, oh, that sounds so amazing. And we had been filming on the island and doing a variety of videos and had seen a pod of dolphins a number of mornings cruising by just beautiful, especially as the sun was rising over the ocean. And wow. And so here I am. I get to jump in, and here come the dolphins. The boat captain puts us out way out ahead. And I got in the water, and this was the second or third time he had done this. And I was like, I got really calm. And then I noticed these super blue fish, like bluest blue you've ever seen. And it's a really big school of them. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to glide with you. So I'm gliding with this really big ball of fish. And of course, the dolphins came to us. And it was the most amazing feeling of literally, I figured out roughly, it was probably about a 200 dolphins in this pod. And the most amazing part was the little ones. They're so cute. Oh my God. And they swim belly to belly with mama. And I made sure I just stayed really still. I didn't want to interfere in any way. And the experience of just this energy of the dolphins just flowing through and by, and oh my, wow, I felt so privileged, so lucky to have this moment. And I feel like nature's kind of there for the offering if we pay attention and listen. And boy, if you have moments and opportunities like that, personally, I like say go for it.
Yeah, and while
that was happening,
while she was doing that, some part of me knew I shouldn't go on that trip. I can't really completely explain why, but I decided not to go, and instead I took a young mom. She wanted to go, and I was like, "Well, I'll watch your baby," and me and the baby are going to go to the Seahorse Museum, and so I went and I learned all about this amazing seahorse that the seahorses are endangered and they're trying to help restore the ecosystem. And so they were feeding the seahorses, but the seahorses didn't get that they're supposed to eat what they were feeding them. Except for one seahorse who came up and started eating, and he would and this seahorse would teach the entire group of seahorses to eat this particular food. And so, of course, they used that seahorse that they called Mikey because Mikey likes it. And so they took this seahorse and they put it in other tanks, and this seahorse became almost famous
because seahorses were dying in captivity. Yeah, they weren't thriving. They were. Can you imagine? You've taken these precious little things. And then you can't take care of them because they're all dying.
Yeah. By the way, they have to live in community, and they're very polyamorous. So, if there's 4 or 5 of them it's usually a female and several males. and the males all carry the babies. Okay. And so instead of having a male with a bunch of females, it's actually the opposite way.
I kind
And
of like that. Can
so do I. And
Can I be a
so do I.
It's kind of like penguins.
So I thought it was really awesome because at the end, I got to put my hand in the tank, and a little seahorse. It wasn't a baby. It was a male, and he came and he put his tail around me and laid right in the palm of my hand and looked right up at me, eye to eye, and said, and I felt the vibration of, because I'm touching it at that point, and I felt the vibration of, you are one of us. We are one of you. We are one. And that is like, whoa. And so, like, sort of like the way LeKross was saying that he felt his connection to crows, I felt a connection to seahorses. And I was like, ah. And I really do love the water, and I adore the ocean with like a really huge heart in a really special way. In a way, so much so that I'm like, you stay over there. I'm not afraid of the water. I'm a great swimmer. I grew up on a boat. But I feel like we need to leave it alone. Because humans have done a lot of oops to it. And so I have this real connection to seahorses in that way. And I just think it's really beautiful. And that was my connection to seahorses. I do want to address this question because I think it's super important.
That was amazing, though, that you had that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Hey, Quellen.
So my buddy Quellen is saying, how much of the idea of totems is wrapped in appropriation? Well, you know what, Quellen? I've actually thought about this a lot. And I was actually looking forward to having LeKross on the show because LeKross is indigenous. And I felt like we should have at least an indigenous person representing. And that would have happened, but Spirit's seen it otherwise. Okay. And that's completely out of my control. And LeKross is here watching us now. And I will say that we could, but one of the things that we've talked about before about cultural appropriation is that every group has been appropriated. The Celts were appropriated. The indigenous groups were appropriated. The
Irish.
American indigenous groups
Definitely.
were appropriated, but so were the Celts, and so were many European tribes. So were right now the Indians are being appropriated, and they have animal totems. They have temples.
What if
to different animal totems? And I think to say that the idea of animal totems is just appropriated, I think that would apply if you were like, well, the Cherokee said, but then at that point you're giving them credit. So, but I think that somebody said Cherokees don't do totems, but there we go. Cherokees don't do totems. That could be true.
Interesting.
But maybe you say the Lakota say this about the black snake, right? Or this. But then at that point, you're giving credit, and I think that that's okay. And so I want to say that appropriation is a serious issue when you take people's culture and you don't give them credit. And that's when it becomes
you make a totem pole and act like you invented totem poles.
Right. And we I think that as we have been discussing this, I mean, we have been, bringing up the fact of, really having an understanding that the Native Americans here, at least, helped us with that, really.
Yes. And indigenous people definitely have an influence.
Absolutely.
For sure.
And I think we could have easily called tonight's talk spirit animals, right?
Oh, yeah.
I think totem is definitely a triggering word. I get where you're coming from. I thought about it. I wondered about it. I wondered if I should look up the history of it. But then I was like, that's not the point. That's not what we're trying to do. We could have easily called it a talk about spirit animals.
But I think it's also because totems were like what is symbolic about animals, especially in how they are their meaning for you, especially in your life, and what do you symbolize as your totems? Because I live in upstate New York, and we're taught all about the Iroquois Indians because literally that's what this whole area was. We had the Iroquois nation here, and so we're taught so much of Native American life here. And when we hear about whether what tribes it has, we have now surmised and it has become popularized for totems to mean what are those things that are symbolic to you, right?
Right.
That's
So
another good way to define it.
it's not necessarily that we are taking something of somebody else, but it's become in such a way that because Native Americans have created this where we have all seen it, understand it here, we now understand that word totem to be something symbolic to us, right?
Right. And words change over time.
They do.
I want to, bringing through our Indigenous co-host that couldn't be here, he says one of the lessons, I think is about crows, about the hollow bones, learning that we cannot take flight because of the marrow in our bones. We learn to fly when we learn to let go of the earthly things. Then our spirit can fly like the crow. That's an interesting lesson, LeKross. Thanks
Beautiful
for
lesson.
teaching us that. And look at this. LeKross answered our question. Different tribes may have had different totems due to
Correct.
a location. The Taino would not have jaguar because they don't exist in the Caribbean.
Correct.
Or bison because they were a northern animal. They walked closer to totems because they worked with what was around them.
Correct. And I understand that too, right? And I think that's probably how it was for the Indian, Native American Indian culture here.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to come back to meditations because Quellen is talking about something I wanted to talk about. So first of all, I want to assure you that if you listen to the Dalai Lama, he teaches that his mind even wanders. So the master meditator of the world, the Dalai Lama, his mind wanders. So don't ever, ever, ever give yourself a hard time about having a wandering mind.
No, there's
Just
sometimes
allow it to happen.
Yeah, sometimes
Like
the lesson is to just allow your mind to wander, because I know so many structured people that are like, okay, I'm going to do this at 9:00, this at 9:30, this at 10:30. Like they have structured their whole day gum life, but they don't allow their mind to just wander and be free, because that's where creativity comes from, right? Is when our mind wanders and it's free. Right. Because when you just put in all of these gum boxes all of the time, you need to go, holy shit, I need freedom. and I think you just need that.
Exactly. And I let my mind wander. In fact, I sometimes use it as a reward. In other words, if I did all my exercise and did all the things I was supposed to do, did the dishes and blah, 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 then I actually say, I'm just going to sit here and let my mind wander for 10 minutes. And that's okay to do that.
Yeah.
I think I see it as a reward because it helps me feel more free, helps me feel more able to be myself. Now, here's the thing. Here's a trick about meditation that I think, Bright Hawk, you could even identify with this, is that some people meditate with moving, like Quellen was saying, washing dishes, right? And some people
taking a shower.
Or playing instruments. Bright Hawk plays the drum. And sometimes for me, I move from bead to bead and I try to clear my mind. I can never do the whole necklace. Okay. Like my mind wanders for most of them. If I do 10 beads without my mind wandering, that's probably a miracle. So, it happens. And I think it's just the way, I think it's the practice. That's why we call it a practice, because we're trying. And the act of trying, it's almost like exercise.
Yeah.
The act of trying to climb up a hill will help you lose weight, get in shape, and build muscle. The act of trying to quiet your mind will actually help reduce anxiety, reduce stress, help you think more clearly. and help you feel happier in general and more calm.
Exactly. And more creative. I the funny part is on some of the best, most amazing guided meditations, all of a sudden I'm gone. I don't know where I've been. I'm just gone. I'm not there. I'm not hearing them anymore. I can't follow what they're trying to force me to pay attention to. And sometimes I just have to go where I need to go. And I listen to what that is. And I follow that because you never know the beauty of that information that you'll find in that mind wandering.
That's
Sometimes
right.
it is the most amazing unapologetic wandering because just the lessons you'll learn. Like you may have the most amazing epiphany ever, and it's necessary and needed in your life.
Yeah, exactly. LeKross shares some more wisdom about that.
Good.
Sometimes they can come to you.
Yes.
At that point, they sit and learn with them, learn everything about them, how they eat, how they work, how they interact with other like it, how they mate, what are their strengths and weaknesses. The amazing part is realizing they are not much different than you, and one will see oneself in them. The crow may be the main one for me, but I have had the Bengal tiger, the killer whales, hawks, dogs. Hey, look at that. See, LeKross, we're in the same pack. Magpies, ball pythons, me too, and more. That's awesome.
I want to share something with you guys.
Sure. Well, go ahead and say what you're going to say.
Well, you do that. I was just going to share on the heels of what LeKross just said about inviting them to you.
Yeah.
So when I was the first time I had this experience of having a guided meditation, and you're going to meet your potential animal spirit guide, or it just might be a messenger, And so we're sitting in a big, large living room, and people around on chairs and cushions, and I'm going to say 20, 25 people, right? And beautiful guided meditation. And of course and then later we debriefed it. So we learned later, we all had the experience of, trying to breathe and, settle into it. And the first animal that showed up was like, almost like peekaboo and like, what? And many people were like, no way. And they went away. And then another animal came in, and sometimes it was 2 or 3. And then this was the trippy part. Here's the trippy part. Because when we invite spirit, they come.
They do.
So there was a group sitting on the couch, 3 people. And the first person starts telling their story and says, and I don't remember, this was like 25 years ago. A dog showed up and I was like, what? And then the dog went away. And the person next to them went, no way, I had a dog come through. And the third person was like, and I sat with the dog. And it literally like traveled down the couch. And the second person, and then the first person said, and then I had a bird. I'm just making this up because I don't remember. And I was like, what? What's a parrot doing in my, and the parrot was the person in the middle sat with. Like, no way. That was my one. And so we saw that this is real. It's just as real as when we do our ancestors' work. In the spirit realm of the animals, it may be a messenger, it may be a lifetime guide. I love the way you talked about it earlier. And everybody had an experience. And many had oh man, I don't know why a porcupine showed up. What the hell's that mean? Or whatever. And the meditation was good in the sense that whatever happened, you got past all your reactions and then settled down into another layer and then got really deep, right?
Beautiful.
But it was hilarious. The first layer of the process, the ripple in the room. And how spirit will find the one.
Yeah.
I'm the crow and I'm looking for you, or no, not you. The snake's supposed to see you. I got to go over to LeKross, or whatever. Right. That made me a believer at a different level because of the group experience. And
that's amazing.
Yeah. It was very cool.
One thing I want to say though is I don't know if anybody else, you guys, have had this experience, which is that I have people that are my friends or family, etc., that come to me whether I'm in a waking state, whether I'm in a meditative state, or whether I'm sleeping, they have come to me in their animal forms. So I have literally had, and I have one that is very prominent and that has been with me for the last 2 years, that he will come to me in his animal state.
Wow. That's like the story I told you at the beginning with Thoth, where they came in the animal form so many times I didn't know who it was.
Yeah.
Until later.
It's amazing. But I know who this is, and I know their
energy.
I know who they are. And a lot of times they'll come to me, especially in emotional states. Like, is it okay for me to come to my human form to you at this point? Like, is it okay for me? Like, so he will feel me out with his animal form coming around me. Does that make sense? So I think it's interesting that, like, no, move on. Just kidding. But I don't know. I don't want people to think that it's only yourself that you can resonate with. You can also see your friends, family, loves, etc. in their spirit form, and they may come to you as well. So, and it not just gods, goddesses, or whomever, right? That it's whoever is, they feel like their spirit form, they can trust you with it. A lot of times I feel like if they can trust you with their spirit form, it's like a deeper trust that they've brought with them to you, right? And it's maybe something also that you need to know and look at about that animal, right?
Absolutely.
Robert said no paw prints on the furniture, right, Cindy?
Or how about just a Bengal tiger sitting on my lap? Okay? And not the baby form, but the huge form. So I'm like, but what I just went to get was this. This is a hawk feather that was given to me by the hawk. I used to run a couple of years ago before my feet started acting a fool. And I would run this particular thing that I have a street behind my house, and it would be part of my run. And I would have this hawk that I would see, and it was just pretty amazing. And I was running at like 6 a.m, 5 a.m, stuff like that. I know it's hard to imagine me actually being up that early, but I did do it. But I kept seeing this red-tailed hawk, and I just was like, man, I just thank you so much for showing up today. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for giving me that information. So then I would be on my way back. I'd see him the next day, and this went on for probably a week. And the last day that before this happened, I'm like, I swear you're playing with me today. Because as I was running up toward it, so there's this power line, and there's this little recycling, like bottle can redemption center. And there's a tree here, and there's trees over here on my left. And as I'm running, I can see him just going from one tree to the other tree, literally swooping down right above me and sitting up there. And I'm like, thank you so much. That was beautiful. And as he did it, the next time he came swooping down to me, literally like a foot in front, he drops this feather for me. And it was I said, that is amazing. I said, is that for me? And I literally could hear him responding, that is a gift for you. And it was the most amazing gift. And I literally started crying because it was just good medicine at the time. It was really good medicine. It was something I really needed to know and understand. And that was when Hawk entered my life, like more predominantly than it had been in my life. And that Hawk medicine was amazing. And I still have it. I still am seeing hawks all over the place, much like the crow. I'll see the hawk all over the place for me.
Fantastic.
That was an amazing interaction. That was an amazing interaction with the animal.
It's a beautiful story, Cindy. I'll have to share my hummingbird story that's similar, but we'll wait till after the commercial break. And I just want to tell you guys, that we're going to have a special treat after the commercial break. I know we normally get a dream interpretation from LeKross. By the way, LeKross is saying totem is just a word used in the northern areas. Animal gods or animal spirits are from all over the world. We're all part of the Earth Mother, and the animals are our siblings.
Yes, they are.
But every culture has used animals for guidance, so I don't believe that it can be appropriated.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of with you there, LeKross. So I just thought I would include that.
Think about the earliest cave drawings, right? 30,000-year-old cave drawings. What's the first thing they drew? Animals.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little commercial break, and when we come back, instead of having the dream interpretation, we are going to have a story from Brighthawk with animals in it and animal totems that carry messages for us. Now, this is a special story. It's her story, and I'll let her tell you more about it after the commercial break. So go get your drink, go to the bathroom, do what you got to do, and we'll see you in just a few minutes.
Excited.
Yay.
WLFE Digital Broadcast Network is on TV. You can watch all of our shows on WLFE-DB.com. Check out our channels. Paranormal View for all of your paranormal type shows. LGBTQ Friends for all of our LGBTQ shows. Variety Unlimited for all other shows. It runs 24/7 right on WLFE-DB.com. You'll even catch the lives, all in one place. Never miss an episode, past or future. WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows. Search for your favorite shows like Where's My Sage, Inside the Drag Closet, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Paratalk Radio, Step into the Paranormal, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and more. Now you won't miss an episode. Remember, follow Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow your favorite WLFE-DB radio shows. You can find our shows where you listen to your favorite podcasts, like Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and more. WLFE-DB Radio is looking for podcasts to join our family. You don't have to fit any strict genre. We're a plethora of shows. If you're looking to jump on a growing network, then contact us at WLFEDBradio@gmail.com.
Wow, Amazon Music just got a whole lot better. Your favorite shows from WLFE-DB Radio can now be found there. Yes, we are on Amazon Music, found under podcasts. Download the app, find podcasts, and search all of your favorite shows. Shows like Where's My Sage, Across the Pond, Everything Yet Nothing, Skeptical Help Bar, The Creepy Parlor, Just Cindy, and much more. Now you don't have to miss an episode ever. Amazon Music is WLFE-DB radified.
Tune in to Kaleidoscope Eyes with your host, Transman LeKross Ortiz. Every week, we will be touching topics within the LGBTQIA plus community. We will also be having interviews with individuals within the community and allies. Journey with us as we share in their struggles and triumphs every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Hey, I'm Hollis Taylor, and I'm a non-binary person, and I call myself a divine androgen. I guess it would kind of be like saying that you're a monk or a practitioner of magic or something like that. Maybe it depends on what path you walk. See, one of the things I noticed as I started to come out and started to identify
as non-binary, I started to realize that there was no spiritual path for people like me. Like, I mean, there were some things like indigenous people, but I don't want to culturally appropriate. I didn't grow up on a reservation, and I think Two-Spirit is great, and I want them to keep it. And I felt like I had to define my own path because I didn't have a huge background in these things. And so I started to explore things. And of course, some religions shame us, right? And then there's some religions that don't even include us. Like Wicca, I went to many rituals and never, not once, did they mention someone that was both or neither gender or god or goddess. Unless you asked, and then they would often have a goddess or something. But there was no language for it. And so as I started my own spiritual path, my own path of holistic learning, I learned that I really needed a spiritual path in order to be who I was. Like, I felt like it was part of humanity. It was part of being a human. And I needed to be celebrated in my spiritual path. I needed to be seen, and I didn't want any of the shame. So that's not for me. That's theirs. And so as I started to unfold, I started to realize that I have my own path, and each one of us actually do. You do. Everybody does. Has their own spiritual path that they're to unlock. Your authenticity is in your heart, just like it was in mine. There were some things I had to go through to unlock those keys, to get closer to who I really was inside. Because all of us are divine conscious beings, and you have to work through some weird stuff sometimes, like cultural norms, and gender roles, and gosh, mental health, and the crap your parents programmed in there. Sometimes we have to unfold that out. And when we do, we get to an authentic authentic person when we move through those surface things. And when we find our authenticity, we can go deeper. We can love deeper. We can love ourselves deeper. We can love other people deeper. And we can enjoy our life fuller and more, and feel more complete by the time it comes time to, end, because we all die. None of us get out of alive. So just consider, as you start to identify and find your gender is not something that was given, that is not something that was assigned to you when you were born. As you start to realize your gender expression, no matter what it is, I'm talking to the drag queens, the drag kings, the gay guys, transgender people, non-binary people, gender-neutral people, all of us, we're all here for a reason. The divine sent us here. We're all here to define our own path. Make it what it is. Follow that part of you that doesn't follow the rules. The part of you that doesn't do what other people are doing. Because that part of you will lead you to the path you need to be on. And you will manifest the beautiful things that the world desperately needs. All of us are where we need you. We need you to step up and bring your most beautiful light to the world. And I hope that that's what this book does. That my book, Divine Androgen, A Sacred Path for Gender Variant People, and this channel will inspire you to find out who you are and open it up to the world and deliver it. As if we were all waiting for it. But we didn't know what we were waiting for exactly. Show us what that is.
Here we are. We're back. Welcome back, everybody. Brainhawk's going to offer us a beautiful story. And during the story, I'm going to share the images from the book, The Dancing Hippo. It's a story that has none of the characters are gendered, and you'll see it on the screen. And I will share it. You ready?
All right. Well, before any story can begin, we have to begin by calling to the spirits of the story. A story, let it come and let it go. Now, this is the story of once upon a time, a long time ago, in the land known as Africa. It is sunset, and at sunset, all the animals come down to the water to drink and play and see what everyone has to say. And the first to arrive is the froggies. Sorry, the monkeys. I knew the story. I know the story. I wrote the story. And what did the monkeys say? The monkeys say, and we can all make monkey sounds together. And the next to arrive, of course, is the birdies. And you can make your own bird calls. How many different bird sounds can you make? And of course, if we're down by the blue-green grassy waters of the Savuti River, there's lots of frogs, and the frogs go ribbit, and lots of insects, and they go zip zap zip zap zip zap zip zip. And so everybody's making a little bit of a noise, and the cacophony of noise starts to become a very joyful noise. And one of the joyful sounds, a rhythm starts to emerge. And now I need to share with you the sound that a hippo makes, so you know how to go. And I can assure you, I know this from firsthand experience. And so they look over and they see a beautiful, delicate hippo named Mvukutamba. Mvukutamba, 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 Mvu. Mvukutamba, 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 Mvu. And Mvukutamba starts to feel the rhythm and the groove. It's a beautiful sunset night. On one side, the sky is oranges and all sorts of beautiful colors of the sunset. And on the other side of the sky, an amazing, huge full moon is rising. And the moon is glowing so brightly. And everybody at the watering hole is doing a dance and getting their groove on. And they cannot help but go into a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance. It's a very fun place to be. I said a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance. It's a very fun place to be. And so everyone's grooving and they're all having a really blissful time when all of a sudden the elephants make your best elephant sound. All the elephants, because the elephants, they travel in a really big tribe with the mamas and the papas and the grandparents and all the children. And they all come down to the watering hole and look down the river at this crazy scene. And the largest elephant of them all looks down the blue-green grassy waters of the Savuti River and says for everyone to hear, hippos cannot dance. What? the moment these words are spoken, Umvukatamba's bliss bubble of joy and ecstasy is popped. They fall with a great splash into the waters, and they cannot believe they have been called out in front of everyone. It's as if Umvukatamba has broken some unspoken rule that the elephant made very clear. Hippos cannot dance. Who'd ever heard of such a rule? Well, Mvukatamba was not feeling very well after that. They felt very embarrassed and called out in front of everybody. And so it was a long, lonely night. And Mvu just decided to stay away. Because you know how you're feeling when you feel like you've been publicly humiliated. You just want to go away. And Mvu realizes that this hippo felt light and beautiful when dancing and began to wonder, did it even happen? Filled with self-doubt, Mvu thought it couldn't have been that great. It wasn't possible. The elephant was very clear. Hippos cannot dance. That should be the end of it. So the hippo stayed away and took a long mud bath, because a mud bath will make almost anyone feel softer. And one morning, Mvu comes out really early at dawn when no one's around, and looks around and starts to make their way towards some sweet grass and starts to hear Mvukutamba, sometimes life stings. And sometimes life is sweet, like honey. You get to decide. Are you going to focus on the sweet or on the sting? What are you willing to be? And with that, the honeybee flew away. What am I willing to be? What am I willing to be? What am I willing to be? I know! I am willing to be delightfully surprised by how sweet this life can be. I am willing to be delightfully surprised by how sweet this life can be. And with that, Mvu felt a lot better and had considered what this bee had offered, what wisdom. And now, when Mvu slips back into the water in the early morning light of dawn, the hippo's mind is on the honeybee and on the message of being willing to be delightfully surprised. Mvu began to question, was it all a dream? Well, about another week went by, and this time it was a really dark night. In fact, the stars were amazing, and there seemed to be one star that was turning on and off. And flew right in front of the hippo's nose, was a firefly. And the firefly said, "Shine your light, shine your light. Only you can shine your light." And with that, the little firefly flew away. And Mvu thought, did a firefly just tell me to shine your light, shine your light, shine your light. shine your light. Only you can shine your light. Shine your light, shine your light, shine your light, shine your light. Only you can shine your light. It's actually entirely up to you. And when you do, you let your beauty shine on through. Well, about another week went by, and this time it was late afternoon, and the sun was warm on the skin, and Bukatamba thought, what? Okay, okay. Okay, keep going. You're just not having kept up. Keep going. Thank you. I'm a storyteller, not a story reader. Another week went by, and this time it was late afternoon. You could feel the sun warm on the skin, and Mbukatamba started to notice a pair of butterflies flying around the hippo, around one hippo's ear and then the other, and then the butterfly landed right on the hippo's head. And the butterfly said to the hippo, Mbukatamba, you can dance. You can do anything you want. I used to be a caterpillar, and now look at me. I can fly through the air. Transformation happens. You have to work for it. You have to want it. But I'm here to tell you, transformation, it happens. And the butterfly giggled and flew away. Now is the heat of the day, and Boo slips back into the river to think about the butterflies and the extraordinary tales of transformation from the caterpillar to colorful butterfly. And Boo wondered if they could also transform their embarrassment into a hippo dance trance. Well, by now, a whole moon cycle had passed. And once again, it was that beautiful sunset evening, gorgeous orange colors, the smell of flowers, and of course, the first to arrive at this beautiful sunset is the monkey. Everyone's arriving down at the river to drink and play and see what everyone has to say. And before you know it, a rhythm emerges. And Bukatamba looks up and sees this beautiful full moon rising. And the full moon is looking down at Mvu. And the moon sends down a moonbeam that comes across and glides across the water and becomes a moon glow necklace, a moon pearl necklace around the hippo's necks. And now all that doubting and questioning and wondering seems to slip away. And Mbukatamba begins to feel the rhythm all around and goes into a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance. It's a very fun place to be. It is a show about animal spirits, and our little dog is totally in on this. Everybody's dancing and having a great time. When all of the sudden, the elephants, all the elephants, because they travel in a big tribe, come down to the watering hole, and the biggest bull elephant looks down down the blue-green grassy waters of the Savuti River and sees all of what's going on and says in a booming voice for everyone to hear, I guess hippos can dance! Yay! And they dance the night away, doing a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance. It's a very fun place to be. I said a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance, hippo dance trance, a hippo dance trance. It's a very fun place to be. That was fun. Very special just for you. And we created a discount. If you order brighthawkproductions.com, if you want to order the book, you'll get it's a 15% discount if you order it now. So it's super fun to share it with you guys. And I think part of what happened for me as a storyteller was, I'll tell you very specifically what happened. I was in Africa, and it was definitely a place that inspired me as a storyteller. And I was collecting all different kinds of books. And one of the books I got was a wonderful storytelling book called When Hippo Was Hairy. But when I read through all the stories, there were so many stories of trickster and cruelty. I'm just going to call it what I saw. Torture, not nice, not nice. And those weren't stories that I was willing to tell. I just wasn't interested. So, of course, what happens as a storyteller is once you can't find other material, you have to start writing your own. And it seems so easy for me to think about a firefly teaching us about shining your light, but that it's a choice. The firefly doesn't shine its light all the time. It turns it on and turns it off. And when we were doing our Let's Dance activities tour and going to nursing homes and going to all these different places, there were many times when I came into the room, and you can imagine a nursing home that is depressed, anxious, not very fun. And this wasn't originally part of my repertoire for what I would bring into Let's Dance, but there were times where it was like, well, you can sit there and scowl and frown and be miserable, or we could all shine our light. And I started singing this song, and I started singing into the lyrics that it's a choice. And I included Nelson Mandela's quote that once you shine your light, you give permission to others to shine their light. All of this came from the little firefly. So it's a great way to bring the medicine. And of course, butterfly, caterpillar are fairly obvious. There's endless material there. And the honeybee, just really pointing out the obvious. You know, it's like the rose and thorn are one, right? The honey and the sting are all part of the bee's experience. And so which one do you focus on? So that's where the story originated from. And what was fun was that as Hollis and I worked together, I wanted to make all of my stories as available to everyone as possible. And so my stories are genderless as much as possible. And unless it's for some reason relevant, but most of the time, especially if it's an animal spirit character, then why put a gender on it? And so everyone can see themselves in everything. That was a goal and a value that we shared. So I hope you enjoyed it. It's also available as a ebook where you can download it with me singing all the music, sound effects.
I was sharing the ebook. So when you see the screen share next to Bright Hawk telling the story, that is the artwork in the ebook. So you can view the ebook, and if you put Rainbow Soul in your order, I will send you the ebook for free.
There you
Okay?
go. Just for you guys.
Just put Rainbow Soul in the comments after you
Oh,
order.
thank you.
And I will send it out. Bright Hawk, you got lots of people cheering you on. And I want to say, first of all, I want to bring our guest back out. Cindy, come on out. It's so great. I'm so glad you got to see the story. It's so special.
I love it so much.
And I just want to say that storytelling is its own form of magic. So Eve, you're right. When telling the stories, the hardest part is to remember to write the stories down. And I'm going to tell you a little secret, Rainbow Soul Insider secret. Next week, we're going to be doing storytelling with Bright Hawk and another guest. His name is Travis, and he does spoken word. So we're going to be doing the magic of spoken word next week. So just a little insight.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, and I think I was thinking the whole time you were telling the story, because we had been talking about animal totems, is I was thinking about the totem of the hippo. Because I feel like the hippo is so misunderstood, especially if you're an American and you've never actually seen a hippo in person, or if you've never noticed one in the zoo or whatever. Like, they're kind of misunderstood anyway. And like the only thing I could think of in my childhood was the eating the hungry hippo game.
Yes, hungry hippo. The game.
and then there was something else like the dancing hippo or something that I've seen.
Yeah.
But I felt like it was already a misunderstood character, and it really is, as an animal, misunderstood. And I can totally identify with the hippo in that way of being misunderstood. I'm sure many of us can. So, and so totems as a story, I thought that the story was fantastic because it brought through so many different. Of course, it brought through the hippo, the big elephant. Like, how many people have had the elephant experience where this big, loud person comes in and just
squashes you,
squashes the energy, and you're like, what the hell? And we've all been through that thing that the hippo went through.
Yeah.
And to have all the different the bugs, the bee, the firefly, and the butterfly all come in and bring different messages. And I felt like, wow, what a beautiful way. That's essentially what happens with your animal totems. This manifests in your life. When I was going to the hospital to get a blood test because I've been having some heart problems, and I was really anxious in the moment, and I was feeling like, oh, I just want to get this done, and I don't know how it's going to turn out, and I'm anxious, and I get in my car and go to drive, and that is the moment that animal totems come in for you. So pay attention in those moments, because even if it's your pet, your dog, your cat can come be in your space. They come up and cuddle up in your lap, or a rabbit crosses your path, or you look out the window and a bird appears at your door. And there were some times that I was wondering about my path in life and if I was on the right path. And interestingly, every time that was happening, both biggest times that happened, I was meditating. And what I do, Sandy, here's another example, Sandy Griffin, is that I meditate my chakras. I actually speak them out loud, like lam, vam, ram, yum, hum, om. So this is the chakra that you're saying when you chant them. And so I'm just kind of chanting them and imagining them glowing in my body. And one time I was in Costa Rica, and the other time I was in Colorado. Interestingly, these are the places, and this hummingbird. Zzz, now you can't miss the sound of a hummingbird.
No, you cannot.
One, and they just buzz, buzz, and they just took away. I mean, they were there for a second, maybe 2 seconds, right on my head. And it was almost as if the hummingbird was saying, "You're right on track. You're perfect just where you are. It's okay. You're right where you need to be." And interestingly, hummingbirds travel from Colorado to Costa Rica. In the wintertime, they go to Costa Rica, and so did I at the time. And then in the summertime, they come back to Colorado.
That's amazing.
Isn't
So
that fun?
that
Go
is
for it.
amazing.
Go,
So
Cindy.
this is a book that I've had. Oh my gosh, you can see that it's well worn, it's been waterlogged, it's dog-eared, it's highlighted, it's underlined, but it's called Animal Speak by Ted Andrews. And it's amazing. He has another one as well, like a second in the compendium, and it's really great. So I thought that I would look up hippo. It doesn't have hippo in this one though. So I grabbed one of the next one, which is butterfly. And it says the keynote for it is transmutation and the dance of joy. And hummingbird.
All right. Travel.
It says hummingbird keynote is tireless joy and the nectar of life.
That's awesome.
That's
Thanks.
fabulous.
It is really great because it'll go through and it'll tell you about the lore, and it'll tell you about, maybe what you need to look at if you have this specific animal, bird, insect, reptile come into your life.
Neat.
So when I come home, especially after I've done a reading, and I feel like some animal, especially when I do like summer, I'm doing outdoor readings right now. I come back and use this immensely, and I'll send it to my clients.
That's neat.
Wow, that's beautiful. And it's such an interesting thing for me because after the hummingbirds landed on my head, I of course, came back and to my computer and Googled it.
Yeah.
And they also mean travel. And at the time I was traveling. So they're kind of saying you're on the right path, you're doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I see a hummingbird now, I'm reminded that I will always travel as I desire, and that it will happen as I need it. And so I just kind of trust the hummingbird energy. And I love hummingbirds now.
Me too.
And they're kind of like a totem the way seahorses, bears, dogs, and snakes are.
Right.
So, because I had a pet snake in the past, and I feel like my pet snake helped me transform from who I was.
Shedding your skin.
Yeah, totally helped me heal, actually, because it really, the snake came into my life during my Saturn returns. And interestingly, they are now with my son who's in his Saturn returns.
Oh.
But anyway,
and I would just say that Jake the snake had a lot to do with introducing us. Yeah, it was the first thing I said. Nice snake.
I was like, you want to hold them? So Jake the snake actually became a them because she had the same experience I did. When we first got her, we thought she was a he. And so we named, the kids we got it from, who had just had it for a couple of years, named them Jake. And then I got it, and after some time, I realized that Jake was not a he; that Jake was actually a she. And so, so I thought it would be more appropriate to just keep Jake's name, Jake, and refer to them as them because they had a transgender experience, and it was really great because I had the same experience. Like I literally had the same experience in my life at that time during my Saturn returns, and snakes are all about transformational healing in particular. And I took Jake to at least a half dozen transformational fire circles where they could be held by person after person after person in a magic ceremony. Danced with every pretty woman and person in the circle. Danced with all kinds of magical people. And as a snake, they really loved it. They loved the heat of the fire, and they loved to be handled So I feel like I have the snake energy always part of me,
Yes.
but it's no longer at the forefront the way then bear energy became part of it. And then, and I feel like different animals have stepped forward at different times
Yes.
to be in my forefront. And that's kind of the way things have gone. You know, at Bright Hawk, you definitely have the hawk that's always part of you. But I think there are times that other animals come through for you as well.
Most certainly. And, it's like what LeKross had said earlier. When you invite the medicine, you invite them, they come. And so I would offer a meme for everyone. This is my meme. I am willing to be delightfully surprised. I say it every day. I think some people are really committed to things not changing, and you end up having a harder time when change comes, and change is part of life. So why not have it be a delightful surprise? Why not welcome the delightful surprise that you can't even imagine how good it can be? Life can be beyond what you perceive as good. If you open it up to, wow, I know the universe is amazing. You probably have a better plan for me than I do. So I'm willing to be delightfully surprised and see what happens. It works. It works. I tell you, there are times when I was praying just that and going into a situation where literally I could not imagine, how is this going to go well? This is so fraught. The situation is so fraught. And I went into the situation praying. I'm willing to be delightfully surprised. And all of a sudden, the situation went in a manner I could never, ever have predicted or imagined. And it was delightful. And I was like, wow, this works. This really works.
Cindy in 2001.
Oh. Wow, that was a while ago.
At our gay club in Rochester. It was amazing. GQ.
Nice.
Willing to be delightfully surprised.
Exactly. I have it hidden in my tarot deck.
Cindy, it sounds like you're willing to do a reading with
it's time for that.
Cards.
So I'm not like, these are not like my first, the things that I've used the most. So, but I'm willing to.
Awesome. I love your readings. Both of yous.
Yes. I'm just going to look to make sure that I don't have any other. That's so funny. I moved the dolphin and the hawk is right behind it. So funny. And snake. That's what I'm looking for. Okay. So Sandy just said something. She said you can iron the book and make it like new. I never knew that.
Me neither.
Oh wow,
that's really helpful.
That.
What did Eve say? Some story in school. There was a line: the hippopotamus sat upon its bottomus. Focus is twisted to present the animal being large and lazy, not strong and powerful. That's interesting, Eve.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what I learned, Eve. Hummingbirds flit through life and are not weighed down, so the light, fluttery energy brings one where one needs to go.
Yes.
Exactly. And it's funny, Eve, because as soon as COVID happened, we were on the coast of California. We went to a couple other gigs and went into Arizona, and then pretty much COVID stopped us from going to nursing home. And we went into the desert, into the Arizona desert, because we had been to so many nursing homes. We thought we better isolate ourselves for a couple of weeks. We don't know if we have this virus, right? This is in March of 2020. And we isolated in the desert during, you'll never believe it, during 100-year bloom. It never happens. And we were like, what? This is a special
You have
bloom.
never seen a desert so full of color.
Every single day was a different color.
Hills of yellow, flowers. Hills of orange, hills of pink, hills of purple,
energy,
white.
Right?
It was just,
wow,
it was
and then
mind
we
blowing.
came home like a month later. We hung out in the desert for like a month.
I also want to use these.
Oh, good.
They're called Therapats. They're super cute. Okay, so who am I doing a reading for?
I think you should just do a reading for the whole group, for everybody watching it. Yeah, everybody watching, everybody part.
All right, so let's do a general reading for the collective. What does the collective need to know? What do we as the collective need to know? Spider energy, number 43. I want this one. Make my own up.
Oh, yeah. Oh, and somebody asked earlier about 23, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the number correlations with the animals. Number 23.
Turtle.
I love turtles.
I love turtles too.
Yeah.
Turtle is one of mine. I love that. Is that a stone? What is that?
Yeah, someone gave it to us when we were traveling in our van because, of course, van life is very much turtle energy.
Right.
And we had it in our van.
17 mountain lion.
Wow.
We have some of those in our yard.
Okay, so I'm just going to intuit because I don't know exactly the meanings of all of these animals. I'm just going to do it intuitively. It's funny because so many people think so many negative thoughts about spiders, and every time I see the number 43, I always think of love you, or if it's 143, it's I love you. Meaning the number is the amount of letters for that, right? So I 1, love 4, you 3, right? So the same thing is true for 4-3 is love you. So spiders, I always have this affinity to, like, I do not necessarily think spiders are the most amazing things in the world. However, I will not kill a spider. I would have my daughter take it out of the house for me. It would be, or if I was okay, it could stay as long as it was taking the bugs away, right? So spider energy, I really have an affinity to, aside from the fact that I have a scar right here, and it was from a spider bite when I was 9 years old. So I'm Spider-Man. Tingly, spidey senses. Get it? But spider makes me feel this energy of a very intelligent animal that really gives us messages that we need to look at and pay attention to. Things that we really need to eliminate from our lives as well, that we're willing to get rid of or willing to extricate. Spiders have a tendency of binding up that which harms them, right? Or comes near them and will then eat it as a snack. So it's really eating the things that you should pay attention to and eat, which is not processed junk. Eat the things you're supposed to eat. Pay attention to those things that are not necessary in life. Get rid of them. But also really know and understand the things that are around you. A spider web is very sensitive to the spider. They know exactly what's going on. So hence the reason they can go to that place where the fly, the whatever is trapped, and be able to take care of it to save it for later, right? So it's really paying attention to those little vibrations in your life that you haven't been paying attention to. So I love the spider card right now. It has so many meanings right now for us. Paying attention to what you're eating, paying attention to that which is around you. And you know what I just heard, which is not to disengage. Really stay engaged, pay attention to what you need to be paying attention to, and really focusing in on those things. And also, Spirit just said, really mind your creativity. Make sure that you're being creative. Not every spider web is the same. They are all different. And so they really use their creativity. So it's really about using your creativity. And somebody just knocked on my house. Hang on one second. Sorry.
It's okay, actually. So we'll let her take care of that. And I've been shuffling my cards. The Love is Love deck. And I'm going to pull a couple of cards here. And I'm already smiling because, of course, an animal is the or sort of an animal, one of my favorite totems, popped up, which is a fairy. And this card helps us remember transformation, that your emotions are just emotions. They're just that. Mm-hmm. And in fact, they're transformational. And that's what the fairy means. That's what the fairy is. And you know what, Cindy? I think this is fun that this is happening naturally, that you had to go get the door and I just said, okay, well, I'll start my reading. Perfect. And so here's the fairies, the Ace of Cups. And so this is a reminder that transformation happens and that your emotions actually only last a few seconds, minute max. And if you just let them come through, they'll transform. And you have the opportunity to choose what you focus on. So go, Cindy. What's your next card?
My next one is the number 10, turtle. I love turtle energy. So a lot of us have this way of keeping people out, keeping things out. It's actually, if you look it up, turtle is actually a lot of times related to femininity and sexuality. And are you minding your sexual health, right? Are you minding your feminine things? Are you paying attention to your sexual parts? And really, are you keeping up with your appointments? Are you taking care of yourself in a healthy way, right? So it brings up the fact for me of taking care of yourself in a sexually, your parts, your actual parts, right? But also what was coming up is, not keeping people at a distance and really allowing people in and allowing people to hear you, right? Now it's one thing to give and give and give, but you also need to be able to receive, willingly receive, right? And if you only have that hard shell on the top, you're not receiving anything. You need to allow that softer underbelly, right? You need to allow that in. But also something else, they're really talking about when they're bringing up the fact of the sexual energy, that sexual chakra, that orange sacral chakra, sexual chakra, is really about creativity and healing energy. So making sure that you're really working with that energy as well.
Well, since we're passing it back and forth, I absolutely love turtles.
I do too.
Is that I'll do my next card and then you do your card and then I'll finish.
That's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
So then this card is the Seven of Cups, and this card is all about choices and realizing how many choices we actually have. And this is about exploring each one, because you can see each color has a different symbol inside of it, right? There's a heart and there's a little snake and a little dragon in each of these little cups. And the idea here is that you get to explore each of your choices thoroughly and completely. And a cloud usually represents thoughts. And so think about it. Is that really how you want to spend your day? Do you really, this person ticked you off and really got under your skin, and are they worth the rest of your day? And so that's what this is about. This is about choosing how you proceed with your emotions. And you could focus on how you screwed up yesterday, or you could choose to focus on the 5 other things that you did really well. So, and that's another sort of choice that we're talking about here. Emotional choices, choosing the way you think, because thoughts lead to emotions.
Yeah.
So, all right, you go, Cindy.
Okay. So can I just say something? Snake is also very much associated with goddess energy. Yeah. Okay. So the mountain lion, which is number 17, I was really curious as to what the medicine cards had to say, which was that it's all about leadership. And the funny part is I didn't necessarily get leadership. What I was picking up was actually protection, meaning that you need to make sure you're protecting your energy and really allowing yourself to be who you are, but also being able to keep yourself protected at the same time. So some of the things that I do is I white light myself, I do these things, but I can also see that leadership role. It makes sense to me, right? Because number one, when you protect yourself, you are stating, okay, I'm in this place where I'm allowing myself to be in the place of people seeing me, viewing me, allowing myself to be who I am. And that's being a leader. When you're allowing yourself to be who you are and stand to your convictions, you are, and you stand in your integrity. I can definitely see that mountain lion in you, right? Where you are allowing to be in that leadership role and allowing yourself to protect yourself, because it's really good self-care, right? I firmly believe that when you are in a place of leadership, one of the things that you should definitely focus on is your self-care. So I just had that overwhelming feeling of protecting yourself, allowing yourself to not have anybody else's psychic debris on you. Does that make sense? So making sure that you protect yourself in that way. Prayer is another form of protection, right? So whatever form it looks like to you, utilize it.
It's hilarious. You know why, Cindy? Because the next card I have is all about leadership. It's the Seven of Pentacles. We couldn't have planned this. We couldn't have planned this better. Anyway, this card is to remind you that we all have gifts of leadership to bring to the world, and you must work on yourself. You must get in touch with your own self, your own meditation, find out what your tools are, and get yourself aligned with the tree of life. Get your chakras glowing, like in this picture, so that you can properly offer your gifts to the world. That's what this card is. It's about, if you want to offer your gifts to the world, work on yourself first. Get in touch with your own, who you are.
Absolutely.
And, find out what your tools are.
And I also look at that card as like planting of seeds, right? So planting of the seeds is like great leadership. And it's also like really looking at yourself so well, like with truth, right? And integrity.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting because your cards are 177, right?
Yes. 8, 7 of Cups, and 7 of Pentacles.
Yeah. So a great number for you guys maybe to look up tonight is go on to Google and look up 177 angel numbers, and and the other thing is you can look up 43 angel number, 10. So number 10 is also like the end of a cycle in most tarot. So it's end of cycles and new cycles beginning, right?
Wow.
And number 17 being the mountain lion. So maybe look those numbers up as well.
Wow. Well, that's beautiful. Thanks for sharing that, Cindy.
Yeah.
Thanks for being on the show today.
Yeah.
What a great time. We had a great time.
Can I quickly pull a Therapats card really quick?
Go for it.
I'm going to pull a Therapats card.
Okay. I've never seen them.
They're so cute. You're not going to succeed at everything you try, and that's okay.
Okay.
I love that.
These are the cutest little cards ever. So let's see.
Stop calling yourself garbage. You're a blueberry fairy princess. You are amazing. Wow, I love them. That's
so cute.
Aren't they so cute? Look at the little turtle.
Oh, that's cute.
That's adorbs.
They're adorable. They really are.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for bringing this beautiful wisdom. And thank you to everyone that's watching the show. Thank you, Sandy. And thank you, Eve. And thank you, Robert, for making comments, and LeKross, and everybody out there that made comments tonight that contributed. Eric Harrison. Thank you all for contributing to the show tonight. We totally appreciate you and appreciate your energy. Thank you. And tune in next Sunday for an amazing show about the spoken word. So that'll be next Sunday.
Thanks so much, you guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Rainbow Soul, part of the WLFE DB Network, a queer perspective on spirituality beyond religion. We appreciate you sharing the show on your timeline, follow us on social media of your choice, and join our Facebook group, Rainbow Soul. We want to hear from you. Share your topic ideas for Hollis and LeKross. Explore upcoming shows and interesting guests. The Rainbow Soul Facebook group, where we build community of questioning seekers. Rainbow Soul, where spirituality is our medicine.